Yay, okay. Good morning. Welcome to Think and Grow Rich Daily Hangouts. My name is Sandy Levesque. I'm here with Glenn Walker in Tennessee. This is a daily hangout which we read from Think and Grow Rich and or his lecture notes. Anything from Napoleon Hill, basically. So actually yesterday, and the point of this is to really help tap into more prosperity consciousness, because where two or more are gathered, magic things can happen. And I found personally that reading the books on my own is great, and I still do read other books too. But I found that sometimes when really come together with other people and you're reading the same book, it has something extra special. Uh, so well done for being here. Glenn, yesterday I realized that we read from the fourth part of the books because we're actually on the third one. So we skipped a chunk, but that's okay. We just can read it again. We can read it today. Um,
Well, yeah, I had just set up number 4, the fourth download, right? It says at
ah,
the top, it says, yeah, right to be rich, 4 of 9. The
yeah,
one
because
that
something funny
and
happened.
I'm right at the top of that page. Is
Yeah,
that the one that we were just reading, or?
well, we were actually on the third one, and then what happened was yesterday when I went to find a passage to share from the reading, I was like, this is strange. I don't remember
Oh,
any of this. And I thought, wow, I must have been really not, paying attention because it was so different. And then I realized
yeah,
that we must have read from another PDF because we hadn't read it. So,
yeah. This one here starts. It says, well, tonight we're on a great lesson tonight. We're starting with personal initiative. So this is a new one, right? I think one we haven't
yeah,
read of the
but
lecture
what I'm
notes so
saying is
far.
that we were on page 22, but we were on page 22 of the third copy, not the fourth one. And
Yes.
yesterday we read from the fourth book. The fourth
Oh.
PDF. Do you see what I mean? So we're actually on the three of nine, appropriateness of
Oh.
words. Um,
Oh.
but
Oh.
it's
Is that
I
right?
mean it's
Okay.
not an
Oh.
issue, and it was
Yeah. Oh.
probably
Okay.
it's funny that we ended up reading from the other book because I got so much out of that personally. I'm sure people watching did as well.
Yeah. Well,
um,
maybe that was meant to happen that way.
exactly,
I
that's
don't.
what I figured. um, so what should we? Who should read to this one now?
Well, I can read. Okay, so I should go back to number 3 then. I'll close number 4, right?
Yeah, because there's about
Number
four
3.
pages. We'll keep number four open because it might not take that long to read.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll keep number 4 open and kind of blow it up so we can see it. Each see it. And I'll open up number 3, which is right here. And see that says 3 of 9. And so what page should I go to, Sandy?
To page 22.
22. Okay. Oh, I see it. Appropriateness of words,
That's
right?
it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do a screen share as soon as I blow it up properly here.
So this chapter is all about like traits of success, basically, that Napoleon noticed in people that he interviewed and met through doing all his research.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, okay. So I'll go ahead and start, huh? Let's see. Okay, appropriateness of words. Free from wisecracks and profanity. Napoleon never saw an age when people indulged in so many wisecracks, slang statements, double talk, and all that sort of thing. It may seem smart to the fellow who's doing it, but it's not smart to the fellow who's listening. He may laugh at it, but he's not going to be impressed with the fellow who is too engaged in his wisecracks. Our English language is not the easiest thing in the world to conquer or to master, but it is a beautiful language, and it has a wide range of words, meanings, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to control the English language so that you can convey to the other fellow precisely what you have in your mind or what you want him to know. Controlled enthusiasm. Why controlled enthusiasm? Why not turn it loose and let it run wild? Because you'll get in danger and into trouble if you do. Your enthusiasm ought to be handled very much like you handle your electricity. It's a wonderful thing. It washes dishes, washes your clothes, runs the toaster, etc. It does a lot of things, but you handle it with care, and you turn it on when you want it, and you turn it off when you don't want it. Your enthusiasm should be handled with just as much care. You turn it on when you want to turn it on, and you can just as quickly turn it off. If you're not able to turn it off as quickly as you turn it on, somebody will come along and get you all enthused over something that ought not to be enthused over. Did you ever hear of that happening? What a sucker you'll be at the time for his play at whatever he wants you to do. You could be too enthusiastic with the other fellow where you wear him out. Wear him out pulling down his metal shades and resisting you. Napoleon has had salesmen come around so enthusiastic that he wouldn't let them in his place a second time because he didn't want to go through the trouble of defending himself against them. Napoleon heard some speakers and preachers like that too. He didn't want to follow them because he would have too much trouble resisting them. Now don't get any notions, audience laughs. You know, the type he's talking about, the fellow that just absolutely turns his enthusiasm battery loose and goes off and leaves it. All you can do is run away from it or try and turn it off. The man that does that is not going to be popular, but the man who can turn on his enthusiasm at the right time, the right amount, and then turn it off at the right time will be considered to have a pleasing personality. Incidentally, if you're not able to exude enthusiasm when you want to, you're certainly not going to be considered a pleasing personality, because there are times when you definitely need it. In teaching, lecturing, and speaking, ordinary conversation, and selling, almost anything that you're doing in human relationships requires a certain amount of enthusiasm at times. Enthusiasm is one of those things you can cultivate. It's just like all these other qualities. There's only one quality that you can't cultivate, and that's personal magnetism. You've just got so much of that. Even that is subject to control and transmutation too. But that's something one person can't give to another. Good, clean sportsmanship, being a sportsman about everything. You're not going to win all the time in life. Nobody can do that. There are going to be times when you lose. When you lose gracefully and graciously. Lose and say, well, I lost, but maybe it's the best thing I did because I'm going to start looking immediately for that seed of an equivalent benefit. Next time when it comes to lose, I'm going to let someone else lose. I'm going to wise myself up. During the Depression, Napoleon had 4 of his friends commit suicide. 2 of them jumped out of tall buildings, one shot himself, and another one took poison. They lost their money, 2 of them. Napoleon lost at least twice as much as they did, but Napoleon didn't jump off any building, shoot himself, or poison himself. So what did he do? He said, well, this is a blessed fine thing, because losing this amount of money now, I'll have to start earning some more, and in earning some more, I'll learn some more. That was his mental attitude towards it. He started looking for that seed of equivalent benefit. He said, if I lose every penny that I have and I can start all over again, wherever I get a bunch of people together to listen, I'll be able to start making money. How are you going to down a person with that kind of attitude? No matter how many times he's defeated, he'll come right up again just like a cork. You can't put him underwater. He'll bounce up the moment you take your hand off him. And if you don't take your hand off, he'll make you take it off. Common courtesy. What a marvelous thing that is. Just common, ordinary, garden variety courtesy towards everybody, especially towards people that are obviously on a lower plane socially, economically, or financially than yourself. What a wonderful thing it is to be courteous to the person to whom you don't have to be courteous. It's a wonderful thing. It does something to the other fellow, and it does something to you. Nothing got Napoleon upset quicker than to go into a restaurant and have somebody newly rich start ordering the waiter around and abusing him, even though sometimes they may deserve it, but he never learned to like that. He always thought that anybody who abuses another person in public, with or without cause, has something wrong with his machinery. Something is missing in life. When Napoleon was living at a hotel in Philadelphia, he went to get his publisher for the first time, and one of the waiters spilled some hot soup right on the back of Napoleon's neck. It burned him, too. The head waiter ran over, and in a little while, the manager of the hotel was there. He wanted to get a doctor, and Napoleon said, well, it's not that serious. After all, the waiter spilled a little soup, he said. we'll have your suit cleaned, and we'll do this and that. And Napoleon said, don't get upset. I'm the one to get upset, and I'm not getting upset about it. After he was off duty, the waiter came up to Napoleon's room and said, I want to tell you how much I appreciated what you said. You could have had me fired. I was just as good as fired if you hadn't talked about it the way you did. I would have been out. I couldn't afford to be fired. Napoleon didn't know how much good it did the waiter, but it did Napoleon a lot of good. Audience claps. As far as he knew, Nap never intentionally in his whole life humiliated anybody for anything whatsoever. Never. He may have done it unintentionally. He felt good to have that attitude towards people, and it came back to him because people had that attitude towards him too. They didn't want to humiliate him. Why? Because you get back from people what you send out. You're a human magnet, and you're attracting to you the sum and substance of what goes on in your heart and soul. Appropriateness of personal adornment. That's important to anybody in public life. You've got to be a showman if you're going to sell yourself in any walk of life. There are certain things, if you will describe them in ordinary language, you take back the history of most of your outstanding men in the world, and if you just give the barebacks and didn't dramatize you went along, you would down flat. I'm not sure I understand that. You've got to dramatize these things that you're talking about. You've got to learn the art of showmanship as you go along. Temperance, eating, drinking, work, play, and in thinking. Temperance, not too much, not too little of anything. You can do yourself just as much damage with eating as you can with drinking liquor, just as much. A rule that Napoleon went by in all these things is that he didn't allow anything to charge at him. When he was smoking, when he got to the point where cigars were smoking him, then he quit. He could usually take a cocktail or two if he ever found himself being able to resist them. He would part company with them in a hurry. He would follow the same rule if he ever smoked again. Then he got to the point where the cigars were smoking him. When he got to the point where the cigars were smoking him, he quit. He wanted to be in possession of himself at all times. Not too much, not too little. Temperance is a marvelous thing. There's nothing so very bad in life if you don't overdo it. Patience under all circumstances. You have to have patience in this world we're living. It's a world of competition. You're constantly being called upon to use your patience, and by using patience, you learn to time these things so that you get action out of other people when the time is more favorable. If you don't have patience and try to force the hand of other people, you'll get a no, a turn down, or a knockdown when you don't want it. Patience is required in order for you to time your relationships with people. You have to have a lot of patience. You have to be able to control yourself at times. Most people don't have much patience. You can take the majority of people and make them mad in 2 seconds. All you've got to do is say the wrong thing, or do the wrong thing, or do the wrong thing. Gracefulness in posture and carriage of the body. To slump around and be careless in your posture is one who is not very particular about his own personal appearance, so forth. It's a good idea to have gracefulness in posture and carriage of the body. Summarized by Andy Hausman. So, shall we, let's see, Sandy, are you there? Let us unshare. Okay. Okay. Well, maybe I'll start. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, sorry, I had to get Chico because he was growling at someone coming home.
Okay. Yeah, I just finished 3.
Okay, yeah. Shall we read a little bit from, well, what do you think? Should we read from the 4th one as well? Or?
Yeah, well, I guess we've got a little time, right? We're only about 11 minutes in, something like that, you know. So, you know, if you want to just start, why don't you just start 4, huh? 4.
Okay. I'll just open it up because I had number 3 open. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'll screen share. And here we go. Okay, so number 4.
Okay.
Well, we're on a great lesson tonight. We're starting off with personal initiative. This is a great lesson because it's the action-producing portion of this philosophy. It wouldn't make much difference whether you understood all the other principles or not if you didn't do something about it now, would it? Audience members, no. In other words, the value that you're going to get out of this philosophy will not consist of anything that I say in these lectures, nor consist of anything that I put in my notes. That stuff is important, but the important thing is that what you will do about all of this, the action you will take to start using this philosophy on your own personal initiative. There are certain attributes of initiative and leadership. Start grading yourself on them. There are 31 of them. Incidentally, this is a grading of yourself on these qualities, which will be the first step towards making those qualities your own. The first one is a definite major purpose. Obviously, if you don't have an objective in life, a major overall purpose, you haven't very much personal initiative. That's one of the most important steps to take. Find out what it is you want to do. If you're not sure what you want to do over a lifetime, let's find out what you're going to do this year. Let's set our goal not too high perhaps, and not too far in the distance. If you're in a business or a profession or a job, your definite major purpose certainly enables you to step up your income from your services, whatever your services may be. Then, at the end of the year, you can review your record and re-establish your definite major purpose and step it up to something bigger, maybe to another 1-year plan or maybe to a 5-year plan. In other words, that's the starting point of personal initiative. Find out where you're going, why you're going there, what you're going to do after you get there, and how much you're going to get out of it financially. The majority of people in this world could be very successful if they would just make up their mind how much success they want and what terms they want to evaluate success. The majority of people in this, there are a lot of people in this world who want a good position and plenty of money, but they're not quite sure just what kind of position, how much money they want, or when they want to get it. Let's do a little thinking on that subject and grade ourselves on number 1. Number 2, edict with motive. To inspire continuous action in pursuit of the object of one's definite major purpose. Study yourself carefully and see if you have an edict with motive or motives. It will be very much better, if you have more than one motive for wanting to attain the object of your major purpose, whatever that happens to be, or your immediate purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody ever does anything without a motive. Let me restate that. It's not correct. No one outside of the insane asylum or a person who is off balance may do a lot of things without a motive whatsoever. Normal people move only on motive. The stronger the motive is, the more active they become, and the more apt they are to act upon their own personal initiative. You don't have to have an awful lot of brains in this world. You don't have to be so very brilliant. You don't have to have such a wonderful education in order to be an outstanding success. If you will only take what little you have, whether it's little or much, and start using it, putting it into operation, doing something about it and with it. Number 3, a mastermind alliance. That is to say, a friendly cooperation, at least through which to acquire the necessary power for noteworthy achievement. Take the initiative now and find out just how many friends you have that you can call on if you were in need of something in a way of cooperation. Make a list of them in your notes. Make a list of people that you really truly could turn to if you needed some favor, endorsement, introduction, loan of money, etc. Incidentally, unless you have all the money lying around that you need, the time might come when you need to make a loan. Wouldn't it be very nice to know someone that you can turn to in case of need and get the money that you need? You can always go to a bank. All you have to do is give 4-for-1 security government bonds, and you can get all the money you want. But there are times when you may want medium sums, or you want other favors comparable to the borrowing of money, and you need to have the acquaintance of somebody cultivated, so that when you turn to them for favors, you can get them. Above all, if you're aiming at anything above mediocrity, you need to have a mastermind alliance of one or more people besides yourself, who not only will cooperate with you, but who will also go out of the way to help you. It's up to you to take the initiative to build a mastermind alliance. They don't just come along and join you because you're a good fellow. You have to lay out a plan, you have to lay out an objective, and you have to find the people suitable to make up your mastermind alliance. Then you have to give them an edict with motive for becoming a mastermind alliance of yours. Incidentally, Napoleon happened to know the vast majority of people do not have a mastermind alliance of other people. Don't be afraid to grade yourself 0 on this one. But next time you come to grade, don't grade 0. Grade higher than that. The only way you can grade higher is to start in and find at least one mastermind ally that you can attach yourself to right now. I'll read number 4 and then finish for today. Self-reliance in proportion to the nature of your major purpose. Find out just exactly how much self-reliance you have. Incidentally, when you come to check yourself on self-reliance, you may need some help from other people. You may need some help from your wife, your husband, or your closest friend. You may think you have self-reliance, but do you know how you can tell about how much self-reliance you have? Would you be interested in knowing how you can check that very accurately? Audience members, yes. All right, we'll go back up there to number 1 and carefully evaluate your definite major purpose and see just how big that is. If you don't have one, or if it's not outstanding and above anything that you have attained up until the present, then you don't have very much self-reliance, and you should grade very low on that. If you have the proper amount of self-reliance, you step your definite major purpose up way beyond anything you have ever achieved before, and you'll become determined to attain it. Here we go. I'll just come out. Okay. Cool. So, yeah. I actually missed a chunk of what you were reading, Glenn, but I did read it yesterday. So you were speaking about enthusiasm and, oh God, I've forgotten, and being nice to people. That was the gist of it, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, and you and I've talked about that before too, about how easy it is to be generous in your dealings with other people. It doesn't matter what social plane they are, right?
Yeah.
We don't look down on people, and maybe not even look up to people. You just treat people as equals, human equals, right? We're on the same planet. We're sharing the planet, right? And
exactly.
But there are times when our dreams might overlap, and that's wonderful. That's a wonderful thing too.
Yeah.
So I think that was very good too.
I think what you said about not looking up is good as well, because I realized a few months ago that I personally, didn't really tend to look down on people, but I would definitely look up to people. Like that expression, you look up to someone. When you think about it, that's kind of I've realized now that can be a bit dangerous, because I think you can admire someone for the skills they have in a particular area that you might not have.
Right.
But you have to realize that you have skills as well, and and not put yourself down in comparison to someone, even if they've done amazing things. They're still a person, and when you do that, when you look up to people, we tend to make them different from us. I realized I was doing this with these events I was going to in America.
Yeah, the pedestal. I think you and I talked about the pedestal thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be careful, because that can become self-limiting if you do that.
Yeah.
If you put people on pedestal, it becomes self-limiting. You may lose the connection, that the human connection, right? You may lose the human connection by doing that.
Yeah. But I think it happens really easily, because I did this a lot, my whole life basically. Because I thought that if you admired someone, then unconsciously I was placing them as kind of superior to me, as though because they had succeeded in one area, they were successful. They were just a more successful human being. And now how I see it is that it's a human being who's succeeded more than me in one area, but it doesn't mean that they're superior to me in every single area of life. This might sound so obvious, but hopefully someone watching now or in the future will get some clarity, because it was literally very recently that I realized this, how much I was doing this.
Well, yeah, and it can make you self-conscious too if you're constantly uh, measuring yourself against other people, and that isn't. I don't think
Yeah.
that's what the universe wants of you, right? Or God wants of you. I think you want to be operating at your highest level, right? At your
Yeah.
very best in everything,
Yeah.
no matter who
Exactly.
you are, you
Because
know.
if you think about it, if you met Richard Branson tomorrow,
Yeah.
like before I had this realization, I probably would have been like starstruck and said something to him like, I admire you so much, you're just amazing. Thanks for
Gush, yeah, kind of gush, right? Sort
inspiration.
of
And
gush. Yeah.
yeah. Whereas now, what I
Yeah.
would do is I would find something um, human, as people say, something not related to his work or business, and
Yeah.
that I know about him, and I would just ask him about that. Um,
Yeah, as like one human to another, right? As one
yeah,
human.
exactly. Like I saw that
Yeah,
you
I think
like,
that's how.
yeah, you know,
Yeah,
and I think that's a really good thing to bear in mind when you go to events where there's lots of people, or to networking events.
yeah.
Even if someone is a millionaire or a bestseller writer, they're not better than you as a human being.
No,
They've just excelled in an area that you haven't yet. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing, Sandy.
yeah, because
You're
you don't want
you're
to like
actually
at the same
pretty.
time,
You're,
you want to
you're
be
a pretty
aware of.
wise soul. You're actually a pretty wise old soul. Do you know that?
Oh, thank you.
You are. Yeah.
It took me a while to realize this, though. It was actually a friend of mine, a colleague, who was talking about how she had connected with some of the top people in the company that I work with, uh, very like as kind of like a friend, rather than a fan. And it
Yes.
was from watching how she did that and her describing it that gave me that realization. I was like, wow, I go up to these people as fans instead of a
Yeah.
potential friend. And
Yeah.
she made the point that everyone has struggles. They all have things too. They're not, superman or superwoman, and they'd like to have people connecting with them on a friendship level, not just as
Sure.
a fan. Mm.
Yeah. Heart to heart, right? More heart to heart, right?
Yeah,
Not so,
exactly.
not so accomplishment to accomplishment.
Yeah, exactly. And then the chapter 4, this was, now I've forgotten what that one was about. Chapter 4. Oh, this is a recap of his basic philosophy, isn't it, really?
Yes, it
Uh,
is. Yes, establishing your want, right?
yeah.
Knowing your objective, right? Knowing your purpose in life, but also I think I'm doing a dream building thing with Mary Morrissey, and it's wonderful because and I decided to do that because I've always said that you have to really know what you want before you go for something, right? Before you
Yeah.
build, and from that you build your dream, right? You build your dream.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding out in this interesting course is that it's not our business to know how to achieve the dream. It's our
Yeah.
business to build the dream. It's not our
Exactly.
business to know how to achieve it. That's so wise. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
So now as I reread Think and Grow Rich, I think it'll embellish that more,
Totally.
in
Yeah.
objective setting and that type of thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's like I think of it like uh well, it's a little bit different, but it's a bit like going to a restaurant and you place an order. You don't have to know how they're going to make the
Right.
meal.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to choose it, and you have to go to the restaurant, and you have to make that choice on the menu and speak to the waiter, and you have to pay for it. There's some action involved on your part,
Yes,
but
yeah.
there's also some things you can't control, like how it's going to be made in the kitchen and
Right.
what they'll cook or put in it, and how it's
And
going
then
to
and
taste.
then even when even your part of it sometimes will be a surprise, and that's the wonder of it.
Oh,
That's the wonder of it, right? You're
yeah,
part of reaching the dream that you had built. sometimes it's very surprising how it happens. I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
you've seen that several times yourself. I mean, you've talked about that, you know.
Yeah. I think that's why in the written statement, which I have mine close to hand at all times now, it says at the end, you say what you. This is more like about the money that you want to create, and then at the end you
Uh-huh.
say, I am awaiting a plan by which to accumulate this money, and I will follow that plan when it is received. And I find that really
Yes.
interesting because it's speaking to what you're talking about. It's
Yeah,
waiting for
you
a
have
plan
that
from up
goal.
there.
Yeah, you have that goal out there, right? You know where that goal is, right? But
Yeah,
but as it's being unveiled to you, as you're part of that. You're part of that unveiling, right? Then
totally. Yeah,
sometimes it's fun. It can be fun and surprising, I think.
yeah. It's all the hunches we get, the strange ideas, the
Yeah,
yeah,
brings it towards that, you know. Very fun.
exactly. Cool. Well, I think it's really cool that you're doing dream building, because I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
I,
yeah.
yeah. I'd like to
It's
hear
very
more
good.
about how that goes as you go through the course.
Now you know one of my dreams that now is to meet Bob Proctor.
Yes. Ah,
Yeah, got to do that. I've got to do that.
and you're
That's
going to you're going to an event or
well, no, right now that's a dream, and
ah,
I'm going to
okay.
see how that happens. I'm going to see how that happens.
Yeah.
I've got the dream clear in my mind now. It's a vision and a dream.
And I
So now I'm going to see how I create that. You know, but
yeah.
I'm looking.
Well, what comes to mind actually is I might have shared this story on the Hangout before, but I think it was a while ago. I watched an amazing video. It's just incredible. It's an interview with a guy about his relationship with money. He's a big video guy,
Uh-huh.
and it's a Kate Northrup interview for people watching that want to go and check it out. She does these videos called Money Love Stories, and
Oh,
she interviewed him, and it just came out by accident during the interview, but the story stuck with me so much. She asked him about like defining moments in his relationship with money as an entrepreneur, like a successful internet marketing guy, and he shared that at one point when he was starting out as an entrepreneur, he was really struggling, no money, and his girlfriend's birthday was coming up, and she really wanted to go to a Tony Robbins seminar. Um,
yes.
yeah, and so he wanted to go too. So he thought, well, why don't I buy us tickets to go, and that can be her present. So he called up the company that organizes the events and found out how much the tickets were, and the tickets were $1,000 each, and he had less than $25 in his bank account because he'd just made out a big payment or something. So he asked if he could make a payment plan, and the person on the other end just laughed and laughed at him. So he hung up, and afterwards he was feeling a bit down, like, oh wow, I just don't have this money. This is maybe not this. I can't do this. I'm gonna have to think of something else. But then he said this kind of determination that he was going to go, no matter what. He was just going to get the money from somewhere and just do whatever he had to do, and like this determination that they were going to be there no matter what. Uh, and he didn't know how at all, like you were just saying, Glenn. But what happened was that 2 days later, literally 2 days, he went to play tennis with an old friend. Whew. Oh, sorry, someone just sneezed. At that time, and in my house, it just it just scared me.
Yeah.
So he went to play tennis, and the friend didn't know what he was. They hadn't seen each other for ages, so she was asking him, what are you up to? And he was saying, well, I'm making videos for people and helping them make videos. And she said, oh, well, I really need a video. Could you make it for me? And he's like, yeah, of course. And when they came to discuss the money, she didn't have any money to pay him. So she said, can I give you 2 tickets to the Anthony Robbins seminar that's coming up here?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and
Isn't
and
that?
James Wedmore, his name is. he said that he literally dropped his tennis racket. His jaw
Yeah.
went, and he couldn't believe the magic of it. Like that's not how he described it, but I can't remember the words, but he said that that changed his whole relationship with money forever because he realized that, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
he had
The abundance is there, and the universe wanted him
to
to
go. Yeah,
have that, to do that.
exactly. And imagine
Yeah.
if he hadn't decided that he was going, it would have,
Yes.
it might
His
never have
intention.
happened.
Yeah. If his intention wasn't clear, right?
Exactly. He didn't have the major definite purpose for going to that event. That
Yes.
story just every time I remember it, it's helped me a few times actually because there's been a few things in the past when I felt I didn't have the money in my bank account, and then I remember that story and I think, well, okay, I'm going to this, and I start imagining myself there, like sitting in the seats if it's an event or
I
going,
think Tracy did that on the Charlotte trip too. I think
yeah,
to get to Charlotte, that was he already committed to it. He committed to it. He got there.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I know for a fact that you'll be there, Glenn, to meet Bob.
Yeah.
I can just
I will. Yeah, I
Yeah,
will.
I believe in you. I know you will. When is
Yeah.
it, Glenn?
When you mean when would I meet him? You mean?
Yeah, what was the event you've got in mind?
Well, I've looked. There's one, believe it or not, in August 18th. It's called the Matrix in Toronto, which would be kind of neat. I would like to go to that. Um, and and we're going to California because my youngest son, 45 years old, is getting married for the first time on the
Oh,
on the
wow.
on the 9th of August. So it's kind of pushing it a little bit. And we'll be in California till the 12th. So
Ah,
I might not be able to catch it on this round, but somewhere I will meet him.
unless you
It's in
fly there from California.
from California. Yeah, I don't know. I'll look into that. I'll have to look at the
Flights.
possibility. You know,
Yeah,
but
cool. Well,
it's
keep us posted.
yeah, yeah, I will.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, let's wrap things up. Um,
Okay.
we'll be here tomorrow for this week's last episode. Tomorrow will be my last episode in France. Oh, I
Oh
forgot to
wow,
mention.
that's right.
I'm traveling again now, so
So
Monday,
Monday is
Tuesday.
a travel day. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even sure about Wednesday because it'll be my first full day in the new place I'm in, so I'm not sure I have the internet all set up.
Have everything set up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
might
Well,
have
why
to.
don't you communicate on Facebook?
Yeah,
Just let us know,
I'll
and then
post in the group.
when we want to resume, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll do that then. Yeah, hopefully, I'd like to be able to do it on Wednesday because we just had a week off already. I'll talk to the where I'm going and see if it should be possible, and I'll post on Facebook. Cool.
Well, but
Okay.
we have tomorrow. We have tomorrow too.
Yeah, exactly. All
Okay.
right. Well, have a great day, Glenn.
Fist bump.
Yeah. Let's
Fist
go
bump.
out there and think and grow rich. All of us can do it.
Okay.
Bye for watching. Thanks very much.
Bye bye. Have a great
Bye.
day.
And thanks for reading, Glenn.
Bye bye.